some other nonsense. We're here tonight because this is an important election that's coming up. And we're fortunate that both candidates for the Senate seat have agreed to come tonight. I understand from Senator Addabbo's office he's being a little delayed, but his staff member will, notify us when he's, arriving. Okay? So I just want to remind you of a couple of things. There are 3 proposals also. I don't have them with me, but read the paper in the next few days because those usually sneak by and nobody knows them. You have to vote on them also. And then also another announcement, November 9th, there's a big, it's the 3rd annual Veterans Day Parade. Us veterans, I'd like to push that a little bit because I know we're neglected, in Middle Village. That's on November 9th. Okay? So the venue tonight will be, each candidate will have 5 to 7 minutes to introduce themselves, give a little background on themselves, and then after that, we'll go into question and answer. Just, raise your hand, and then myself or Mr. Jim McCloskey over there will acknowledge you, and then you can either, I think we have pretty good audio here, you can probably ask from where you are. If not, you can come up to here, okay, and we'll have that. Okay? I know Mike is a parishioner here, as I am, and he also teaches in the CCD program here, and he's also a lector, so he's pretty familiar to the church here. All right, I see Mr. Senator Addabbo's rep, and he has word for me.
20 minutes away.
Okay, so we're gonna begin now then, because we don't want to, delay too much longer. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Without further ado, Mr. Mike Conigliaro.
I just want to say that of all the places I've campaigned so far, this is a special night for me here because Our Lady of Mercy, as you know, as Chuck said, this is my parish. I live here in Regal Park, and Our Lady of Mercy, hello Monsignor. This is a special place for me. For the last 7 years, I've taught CCD here at Our Lady of Mercy. And prior to teaching CCD here at Sacred Heart, I worked in their homeless shelter for 10 years. They had that for about 10 people, and it was a good system that worked for the people in that area and for the homeless people who stayed there. It held about 10 people, and it was a good program. The city had stopped funding it. I want to talk a little bit more about that with you guys afterwards with respect to an issue that the mayor's looking to propose in Glendale, which he already has proposed regarding a homeless shelter. But the important thing that I want to discuss with all of you tonight is that this year, of all the years that there's been senatorial elections, and I'm not saying anything different about the years past, but the important thing about this year is that people go out and vote. This is a year where you need to decide if you are content with the way things are, then you know what to do when you go into the voting booth on November 4th. However, if you feel that you want things to be done differently, if you feel that your taxes have gone up, your property values have gone down, crime has gone up, businesses are closing up in the area, and there's no one standing up for you in Albany saying, wait a minute, let's reverse this trend and let's put things back on track. Now, one of the things I've noticed since I began my campaign, and as a resident of Queens and in District 15, I live right here on Trotting Course Lane, is that businesses have closed up more frequently lately than they've been opening up. And that's on Woodhaven Boulevard, that's on Cross Bay Boulevard, that's on Austin Street. There's a stretch of stores on Woodhaven Boulevard by Bridie's that have been empty for quite a long time now. And when people drive into the area and they see that, they do not have an incentive to want to open up a business there because they say, why should I? If these stores are all closed, what gives for me? Now, the answer to that is a proposal I have, which would be to eliminate the corporate sales tax in the state, because the state of New York is one of the only states that has a corporate sales tax. What that's doing, when you combine it with the sales tax that a business has to pay, is you're taking sales tax at 8.6, corporate tax at 8.9, which is already at 17.5, On top of the fact that when a business owner signs a triple net lease, they also have to pay real estate tax, they have to pay water, they have to pay workers' compensation insurance, they have to pay insurance for their business. So where does a small business owner, and I'm using our district right now as the example, and then we can go even and then spread that out statewide. Where does a small business owner have an opportunity here to say, hey, I want to open up a business in Queens, I want to make some money? Think about that. The only people who can really survive and open up a business like that are people who have extra money, people who have the funds as a backup to say, well, just in case business is slow or there's a slow quarter, I could back it up. But that only goes so far, folks. Because what happens when that same business owner puts a personal guarantee in his lease and now he has to leave and he's still on the hook for the rent, for the business he can no longer stay in? So we need to look at the small businesses and we need to look at what we can do to improve them. Now, by doing that, we allow our small businesses now to create jobs. When we create jobs in the community, now there's a vibrancy and there's more money spent into the community. In addition, what we need to also look at is the fact that our schools are overcrowded in the area. We have children learning in trailers, we have children learning in gymnasiums, and yet those of us who send our kids to private school don't get a tuition tax credit. Why? Why is our tax dollars being used, or why are our tax dollars being used when our children want to go, if we want to send our kids to private school, we're not getting our benefit for the bargain? Why not have a benefit to say, well, if I send my child to private school, I'll get a tuition tax credit? Again, more money in your pockets. It's not anything that's detrimental to the state. It's not any, there's $4.2 billion of available money that Governor Cuomo said is available to be used. I'd like to use it for these purposes. In addition, in the area, crime has gone up. And I mean not just in Forest Hills or Rego Park, throughout the district. All the police commanders I've spoken to have told me they don't have enough bodies. Police are retiring, but because of attrition, they're not hiring new police, which means there aren't enough police on the street to help fight crime. In addition to the fact that the police have now lost their ability to use stop and frisk, which to me, folks, is a sin. The police should have the ability to use that technique to help fight crime. Okay? Because at the end of the day, the excuse can't be, well, wait for the crime to happen, or wait for the person to get assaulted, and then pick them up. When you look at Mayor Giuliani's broken window system that back in the day when he was our mayor, it's those small crimes. Okay, it's the quality of life crimes, the guy who jumps the turnstile, the guy who tries to bug someone, the guy. We want to take these people off the street. We want to be able to run the warrant. We want to be able to make sure they're not going to commit more crimes. Because if you look at what happened in the last 2 weeks with these two animals who killed children, we cannot allow this to continue. We cannot allow people like this to roam the streets. And these people have no conscience. And they don't care about you, and they don't care about me, and they don't care about the police officer who's out there protecting us. But when they know there aren't enough police to protect us, they will go ahead and use that as an advantage. There was also last week a couple of guys who beat up a 21-year-old girl. It was on a video to get her purse. We need to control that. In addition, in Glendale, right now, Mayor de Blasio has a proposal, which has been out there for a while now, to put a homeless shelter on Cooper Avenue. Okay? Now, although we're here in Forest Hills, it affects us all, folks. Because guess what? If that one goes there, don't be surprised if he doesn't look to put something here as well. This mayor is not worried about putting places, and it's not an issue, folks, that anybody's against homeless, okay? Because the area where the proposed shelter is supposed to be going is more suitable for a school. It's more suitable because of the fact that when kids are learning and the other kids are playing basketball behind them and their sneakers are squeaking while they're trying to hear the math problem, they can't learn properly. So we have to also realize in these particular shelters, in this particular one, is going to be a methadone clinic. Now, for the record, they opened one in Rockaway not too long ago. In the first week it was open, there were 9 arrests. Who assaulted someone, who stole someone's prescription drugs, who jumped a turnstile, who got caught with drugs. As a matter of fact, on Friday night, there was a rally at Yerman's. The Middle Village Glendale Coalition held a fundraiser they're helping to raise money to hire an attorney to help fight the Department of Homeless Services environmental testing that was done on that property. And a woman came who's currently staying at the homeless shelter at the Pan American. And she wanted us to know that in that particular shelter, amongst others she's been in, people are smoking crack. People are doing things that you wouldn't even want to imagine being done in plain sight. And when there's no more room for them, they're told, go on a stairwell. Just like that stairwell back there. Go back there. So the city, folks, is claiming they want to take care of the homeless, but they're not. They're looking to put shelters in neighborhoods that don't require them. They're looking now to just find a place because they say there's no more room in the Bronx, there's no more room in Brooklyn, so guess what, Queens? You're next. Now, the reason why I mention that to you is because I want to be the voice to say, hold on, Mayor de Blasio. Before you come to Queens, before you come here, before you come into my district, we're going to talk turkey. We're going to talk viable options, such as, I told you earlier, I worked in the homeless shelter at the Sacred Heart Parish. The way that used to work was there was a coalition between the Partnership of the Homeless, the City of New York, and the Brooklyn Queens Diocesan. They worked together with those specific churches that were able to do it, and people volunteered who cooked, who stayed overnight, who was able to do laundry, who was able to be there. And then at 7 in the morning, a bus picked them up, and they went into the city. There are viable options, such as bringing that back. Also, this is right now, this is what's called a non-resident state. What that means is that anybody can come here from anywhere and get homeless services. My proposal would be to make New York a resident-only state. So there are ways. In addition, folks, there are proposals that building owners get where they can build high-rises and have a certain amount of percentage of units for people who make a certain amount of money, and they would pay $548 per month if the city subsidizes it. Right now, the city will pay $4,000 a month to Samaritan Village. $4,000. Where 8 families could be housed in a building, in a unit, that would allow them to assimilate with other people. So they'd be renting there maybe at $548 or $550 a month, but there could be somebody on the higher level paying more, but it will allow them to assimilate. They're not just being warehoused. At the same time, we would have a viable option to help the city save money, and we wouldn't have to worry about having a homeless shelter put in an area that just doesn't require it. The bottom line is the quality of life will drop. Our students will wind up with kids in their classes now that will take precedent over theirs because the overcrowding is already too strong. And when there's no more room there, they'll come elsewhere. And in addition to that, what the government is telling us now also is how our kids should learn. Common Core. Common Core, folks, is not common. Common Core was put together by people who have money. But a majority of the people who created Common Core were not even teachers. And the other issue with Common Core, folks, is that Common Core in each state is taught differently. So a student who lives in Florida or Mississippi is not learning the same as a student is learning here. So how are we supposed to know in our country if our students are all learning at the same level if Common Core says, hey, state, figure out a way to teach. Let your teachers teach it, then you teach the parents, and then you teach your kids. Folks, they don't even want to teach script in school anymore. What's going to happen in years to come when a deed has to be signed or a document has to be signed? You're going to print it out. You're going to print your name. Fraud will be prevalent throughout. What I'm saying is that these are things that we need to look at. We need to look at what has been happening. The governor is not doing things, I feel, that are benefiting us at this point. The SAFE Act came out. There was a phrase I saw today that says, guns don't kill criminals. I'm sorry, guns don't kill people, criminals do. A criminal is not a believer of the Second Amendment. A criminal is someone who's going to get a gun on the black market and use it to commit a crime or kill somebody. But yet, a person who has the right to bear arms via the Second Amendment is being told that they have to be literally handcuffed with respect to having the ability to purchase a firearm. In the beginning of that particular law, which thank God a judge overturned, a police officer was only allowed to have 7 rounds in his gun, where the criminal could have had more. And a judge said, wait a minute, why should the criminal have more? We're going to overturn this. But why should it have even gotten to that point? We need to look at the things that are being proposed to us, and we need to realize that at the end of the day, we have to speak as a whole. And we have to let the mayor, for example, the mayor signed the bill that was proposed by Senator Peralta talking about, it's called the New York is Home Act, where billions of dollars of our taxpayer money would go to illegal immigrants, allow them to vote, allow them to run for public office, allow them to get Medicaid. But what's the hidden message there? It's a new constituency. You have to look and see what the objectives are here. We have to understand that we work hard, we pay taxes, but since 2009, when my opponent was elected, 124 new taxes have been raised, enacted, or added to the list at the tune of $14 billion.
Sorry, excuse me, this is not corruption?
It's... Do the math. But yet, what we need to do to reverse the trend, okay, is we need to vote for a difference, and we need to vote for someone who's going to come in and reverse this trend. Okay? The point I'm making is that right now, in our state, in our city, in our country, we had our first Ebola case the other day. Should we even have gotten to that point? Those borders should have been closed, airports should have been closed from day one. Why didn't our president do that? My point is just that.
He was playing golf.
He was playing golf, he was at a fundraiser, 1,000 or 10,000 a plate. But my point is that what we need to do is look at these things, because my message is this. We need to start at this level, right here in the district, and show an example to the city, then to the state, and all the way up the ladder, that we're looking to have things done differently, to leadership that comes starting here. Because the thing is this, folks, I have nothing against my opponent, just for the record. This is a contest between two people's philosophies, so on a personal level, I have nothing against him, and I have nothing bad to say about him as an individual. What I'm saying is that my philosophy and my way of doing things is different. There's a way that I would go about doing things across the board, but the main thing I would do is I would want to come to meetings such as this, not on October 27th, 2016, but next October, and the following October, and the meetings you have before that, because I need to know from your pulse what I need to do. I need to work with all of you so that I know what the area needs me to do to better represent it. And at the same time, I can come to you with my proposals and let you know what I'm looking to do. Now, everything happens day by day, but if we work together, we can do that. Another issue that comes up that you'll hear the Democrats have an issue with is something called fracking. Chemicals and sand are put into the ground so that the mineral deposits can allow us to pull up the gas and the oil from the ground, so we can rely on that instead of coal. And what's more of a pollutant, coal or the gas? What was going to create jobs upstate? It's there. In Pennsylvania, folks, fracking has brought money, and in 200 test sites that they tested it on, the water had no contamination in these sites. There are ways to do it. The water can be recycled now. Water is a huge component that's used in fracking. The chemicals that are used are there because it's a necessity. However, it creates jobs, and more importantly, it reduces our reliance on foreign oil, and it reduces our reliance on having to worry about what others are going to give us. We have it here, in our own country, in our own backyard. We need to be aware of that, and we need to understand that. And if there are ways to improve that in order to make jobs better, upstate, even though we're here, again, upstate, we want jobs to happen upstate as well as downstate. We don't want to have one area fluctuating with jobs and another area in a depression. It doesn't help us. We need to work across this state, up and down, to make things right. Another thing, as a practicing Catholic and a teacher here, a CCD teacher here at Our Lady of Mercy, is I don't agree with the decision that my opponent made back with respect to the Marriage Equality Act. I'm a practicing Catholic, and I believe that I can't tell two people how to feel. I can't tell two people what to do, but in my faith, in my religion, and in my belief, marriage is between a man and a woman. And the reason why I bring that out to you is because that's how I make a decision on all levels of what I do. I cannot make a decision on whether or not I'm going to get votes because I want to put my head on the pillow knowing at night that I followed my belief. Don't we all want to do that?
Yeah.
We don't want to give in to say, well, you know what, the majority of the area said this or the majority of it said that. What about this majority? I'm going to speak together with you, but I'm never going to tell you I'm going to not vote against something and then vote for it. I can tell you that straight up. I do not. The best way I can explain that to you, the best terminology, which is a street term, is I'm not a smoke blower. Okay? If I tell you I'm not going to do something, I'm not going to do it. We need to trust each other. I need you to know who I am. I need you to know my face. I need to come into your stores or pass down your blocks or walk into an area and you know who I am. It's important because this way you'll know there's somebody out there who will be representing you. You'll know who the person is out there representing you and you'll understand that that person is working hard for you. So what I just strongly urge is that you please come out and vote on November 4th. You spread the word for people to come out and vote on November 4th. And I strongly believe if we do that, and we get the word out, we can work together, and we can do very, very, very good things.